Welcome in.
Welcome.
Today's kind of been hectic. Yesterday was fucking crazy. And the day before, I went to go gas up my car, and there was a lady in the parking lot who was obviously under the influence of some type of drug. And she announced to everybody at the gas station that she was looking for her wallet and then looked straight up at the sky. And I kind of went,
God has it.
I don't think the Sky Daddy's going to give it to you, honey.
Where'd you put it?
It was sort of like she was standing there and she looked straight up and she's like, I'm looking for my wallet. And then just stood there. I'm like, yeah, you good?
It's been gone for a few months now.
God has it.
God has it. God does have it.
Oh my God.
He has the wallet.
But anyways, this is the day after Samhain, and there were spooky things happening to me throughout the day. I went to go take care of the dogs because my parents are coming back tomorrow. And I went to go take care of the dogs. And it's 5 a.m. I haven't slept because I'm nocturnal. I do not sleep during the night. I went to my car, got in, had the keys in my hand, sat down in the car, went, shit, I forgot my phone, sat the keys down in the little weird glove compartment that some of those cars have, right in front of the cup holders. Put them there, got out of the car, closed the door, went inside, grabbed my phone, and came back out, and the car was locked. So instantly, panic starts to set in because I'm I have to get over and feed the dogs and let them out so they don't pee all over the house. I'm like, oh my God, this is awful. So panic sets in. I start Googling how to break into my car, which I'm not sure if that's going to land me on a list or not. But anyways, proceed to try to break into the vehicle for about an hour. And I finally call my parents. I'm like, I'm not getting into this. I text my neighbors. I'm like, hey, I need a ride over to my parents' house, grab my spare key, let the dogs out, and then I'll come right back. You don't have to stay that long. I just need somebody to take me over there. And thankfully, my dad's friend comes and gets me around 6:30ish, and I get over there. Girls are still completely asleep. There's no mess to clean up. I let them out. I grab the spare key, and we come hauling ass back over to my house. Get into my house, set my spare keys for the house keys up on this little key ring that I got, and then I went to go unlock my car and grab the other set of keys. I walk out into the garage. My keys are now on the ground in the garage, and the car is still locked. Done. And of course, my dad's like, "Are you sure that they were in there to begin with?" I'm like, "Yes, I saw them. I had a flashlight up to the window and everything." I'm like, "God damn it, why?"
God damn it. Keys!
Do you really think I'd spend an hour trying to break into my vehicle and cause possible damage to it if I did not think they were in there?
The stress hallucination. You're like, they're in there, I see them.
They're actually at my feet the whole time.
Oh, God, could you imagine? No, the plot twist is the ones at your feet were actually the hallucination. We don't know how you got in your car.
Oh, my God. Oh, no.
Fake keys, unlocks. How'd that work?
How'd that work? Just reaches into the multiverse, pulls out a separate set of keys entirely. That poor unfortunate other Katie, though. She's so fucking confused.
She's like, I lost my keys.
That's what happens whenever you lose your keys in the house. Another set of you from a different multiverse has grabbed those keys to go unlock their car. They'll return eventually, but it's going to make you go crazy for about 20-30 minutes.
I'm gonna have to call in sick to work with that excuse. So there's a me from another multiverse. I can't come in at noon today. I'm so sorry.
I can't come in today.
She took the keys. I have to wait for her to get done with her shift, and I think her shift is as long as mine. So
it's gonna be a while. Sorry.
I think at this point they'd probably be like, take the day off.
Take the day off. You obviously need it. Something's going wrong.
Then they call a GM and be like, so she's dealing with some burnout. We're gonna make her use the rest of her PTO. I think you finally lost it.
She's talking about multiverses and them taking her car keys. Like, I'm just worried about her, man.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They were like, and now you are staying home for the rest of the week. We'll see you later.
I'm like, crazy? I was crazy once. They locked me in a room.
I was
a rubber
crazy
room.
once.
A rubber room with rats. The rats made me crazy. Crazy.
Crazy. I was crazy once.
Oh, shit. Anyways, you did have a request that we do a unidentified person, which to start off this episode, this is an unidentified person's case, but it has been resolved since then. You didn't want a resolved one, but I will tell you it is so hard finding cases that are not resolved that actually have enough detail to go deep into them for a full-length episode. So in the future, we might actually be doing what my mom and I had discussed, which was missing Mondays and unidentified Mondays, where it's just going to be a short episode with a couple of different cases that come from different places in the United States, possibly outside of the United States, where we'll be talking about what information we have regarding these people and who to call if you think that you have any information that you could help with. Now, on a separate note, while I was looking for an unresolved case for you, I ran into a serial killer case. So look forward to that coming soon because I have been obsessed with it for the last 3 days. But yeah, today we actually have one from one of my older episode files. So some of you that joined me from my previous podcast over here may recognize this case. But those of you who are new here, this is a case that actually hit pretty close to home, and like it's one of those ones that a lot of us wanted to see resolved here in Arizona for a very long time. We're very happy to see that it is. So, without further ado, while we understand that some individuals listen for the entertainment aspect of true crime, it's important to remember that these are real people with families and friends who may still be suffering from their loss. These stories are not meant to open old wounds, cause further emotional damage to those involved, and we remind you to please be respectful and do not dox or contact those involved with cases. The case discussed in this podcast today may be disturbing to some listeners, and listener discretion is advised. As far as trigger warnings go today, we do have a child-related case. I'm so sorry.
I'm making a sad face.
You are making a very sad face. I'm like, I was on a different screen and I came back. I'm like, I just need to apologize to her right now because I know that she's sad.
And taking the babies.
Yep. So on July 31st of 1960 in Congress, Arizona, a Las Vegas school teacher was making their way through the Arizona desert looking for rocks to decorate their garden with, when they made a horrifying discovery. The body of a young female child was found in the Sand Wash Creek bed on Alamo Road, just roughly 30 miles from Wickenburg and about a mile west from Highway 93. She was wearing a blue button blouse with white stripes running in a vertical pattern, red shorts with adult-sized thong-styled sandals, which had been cut down to fit her feet, and her finger and toenails were painted with a bright red nail polish. She was roughly around the max age of 6 to 8 years old, most likely determined by her perfect set of baby teeth that were still intact. Her hair was brown with an auburn tint to it, and she stood at about 42 inches tall, or 3 foot 5 inches, and she weighed between 50 to 60 pounds, presumably. The body had been burned and was in a very bad state of decay. The medical examiner and investigators noted her manner of death as homicide. However, the cause of death has never really been stated. There is a newspaper clipping that mentions how there were no marks of physical violence, no broken bones, and no puncture wounds or bruising, though. The rubber sandals that she had been wearing had cut into her feet very badly as well. At the scene of investigation, officers revealed that there were 2 sets of footprints leading to the location of the body. One set is believed to be that of a boot-type shoe and was most likely men's based off of the size. The other set was believed to possibly be that of the victim's, meaning that she had probably walked herself to the location of her demise. A pocket knife with a stained blade was also located at the scene. It was sent to FBI laboratories in Washington at the time to determine if particulates of dry blood were on the blade. However, it's noted in later articles with the body in the state of decay that it was, and the clothing being in a bad state as well, it could have likely been that the knife was used, but it was impossible to determine. A set of automobile tracks were found to have driven off the road, according to testimony from the Yavapai Sheriff's captain at the time. They presumed someone drove off the road and then turned around in the wash. It was discovered that 2 other holes were dug nearby before the individual successfully was able to create a shallow grave. Now, I presume that this is because ground in Arizona is very, very hard, and it's kind of rough to find an area that you're going to be able to dig up that's not going to hit directly into rock.
He's just out there with his shovel.
Yeah. I'm like, I've tried digging holes in Arizona. It's a pain in the fucking ass. Now, leads on this case were chased from Kingman, Arizona, all the way to Gallup, New Mexico. Officers looked for abandoned cars, and each one of them led to dead ends. The Yavapai County Sheriff at the time began to form a theory at this point. This child belonged to a transient family and possibly died of natural causes. This death was unreported due to the family not having funds for a funeral or a burial. However, with the state of the remains, this was a very unpopular theory among most investigators as they continued to push to solve the homicide and find the name of this unknown child. There was one lead shortly after this theory emerged, as there was a report of a family being seen walking in the desert just west of Congress, near where the remains were found. According to this report, these individuals were seen on Wednesday, and the body was discovered the following Sunday. There were 2 adults with a baby and 3 other children wearing overalls and cloth caps with peaks. Investigators do note that the body had likely been there for 2 weeks. However, persons more familiar with the desert noted how the intense heat would likely hasten decomposition. However, this family was questioned and later concluded to not be involved with the remains of the little girl. Now, from the start, there was speculation as to who this little girl could be. Primarily, it was theorized that the body belonged to that of Sharon Lee Gallegos, who had been kidnapped on July 21st from Alamogordo, New Mexico. And I'm so sorry if I butchered that. Now, Sharon was 4 years old at the time of her abduction. The body that was found was estimated to be that of an older child. So, like I said, this body's around the age of 6 to 8 years old, according to the medical examiner. The clothing was different from that of what Sharon was wearing at the time of her abduction as well. And it's also discussed that the clothing may have been changed by the kidnappers or the abductors at this time. Additionally, DNA itself isn't a tool used in forensics. In fact, it wouldn't be reportedly used until 1984 by Dr. Alec Jeffreys at the University of Lancaster in the United Kingdom. And I'm so sorry if I mispronounced that one. This meant that matching the 2 victims needed to be done a different way. At the time, it was recorded that the footprints of the Jane Doe and Sharon Lee were compared, but were found to not be a match. Although the discovery of the little girl shook close-knit communities and families alike throughout the state and even outside of Arizona, no one came forward to claim her as their own. And in similarity to other cases of does, she became known as something that made her unique to this county. Her name would become Little Miss Nobody by the investigating agency and the community. And the case went cold. She was laid to rest in Mountain View Cemetery on August 10th of 1960. Her headstone was added presumably sometime in October to November that year, according to references. It was purchased with combined money from Prescott residents. With the nameplate Little Miss Nobody, the date of birth unknown, date of death unknown, and an inscription from St. Matthew's, "Blessed are the pure of heart." In August of 1961, over a year later, law enforcement turned to the television industry in efforts to close the case. Law enforcement officers and cameramen marched out to the Sandwash Creek bed to film the actual location of where the body had been found. They then brought forth evidence later in the afternoon, including a pair of cut-down rubber sandals, to be recorded on film. The hope was that someone with just the slightest fragment of a memory of this place could come forward. However, with similarity to other cases, tips came forward, but none of them actually led to the identification of Little Miss Nobody. In March of 2018, the case was revived with the publishing of a facial reconstruction of Little Miss Nobody by the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, or NCMEC. However, other sources do note that the facial reconstruction may have been developed and presented as early as 2015 or 2016. Decisions to exhume the body were also made at this time to obtain a DNA sample, which were also funded by NCMEC. The Sheriff's Office then worked with the University of North Texas Center for Human Identification to generate a facial reconstruction image and DNA profile for Little Miss Nobody. However, they were able to develop a MT DNA profile, which was later built into an STR profile and uploaded to CODIS. Now, we're going to pause real quick and go back up to the top where all my definitions are at. So, a MT profile is a mitochondrial profile. This is DNA that is present in small structures outside of the nucleus of the cell. This form of DNA is inherited maternally and is typically found in human hair. As far as it going, if it can individualize a person, in some cases, yes. Usually, if there is enough part of the root, like that really meaty part, that if you were to pluck your hair out and you see that like little white piece at the end, there could possibly be enough nuclear DNA there to run a PCR and create a profile. However, with mitochondrial DNA, there are different variables and factors that can occur when it's passed down from the mother to the offspring that could limit the individualization of the profile. Now, STR is a short tandem repeat in a region of DNA molecule that contains short segments of 3 to 7 repeating base pairs, which can offer means of distinguishing one individual from another. And then we have CODIS. Now, CODIS is the Combined DNA Index System and is probably one of the most significant investigative tools to arise from DNA typing programs on computer software. It profiles DNA from offenders, unsolved crime evidence, convicted offenders, forensic unknowns, and profiles of missing persons. But I do have to state that this is not a search engine. So it's not basically like I type this in and it's going to pop up. So there's still
Google.
People Google. It doesn't work that way. So you can put stuff in, it will give you things back, and ultimately, like, from there, you kind of got to do the footwork and the heavy work again just to go through that ACE-V method of verifying that what you're doing is 100%. Now, unfortunately, when they put the profile into CODIS, it didn't match anyone. And in 2018, NamUs worked to identify a possible sibling and get a reference DNA swab. However, these results were inconclusive once again. In 2021, the Yavapai County Sheriff's Office continued the pursuit of identifying Little Miss Nobody and partnered with Ortham Labs. Ortham is a laboratory that uses genome sequencing, which looks for hundreds or thousands of markers, which can help to identify someone's family tree. Dr. Kristen Middleman with Ortham says that their only customers right now are with law enforcement, and that the Texas-based company has been able to identify decomposed bodies found in sewage and unknown remains dating back to 1881 just by working with the bones alone. In December of 2021, Ortham took custody of the skeletal remains and built a genealogical DNA profile for Little Miss Nobody, or should I say, Sharon Lee Gallegos.
Oh, so she was the girl.
She was the girl.
They thought was missing, or knew was missing.
So, kin SNP rapid familial testing confirmed a biological sibling relationship to Robert Juan Gallegos, Sharon's brother. And the DNA found was returned to authorities in February of 2022. On March 15th of 2022, a press statement was made and posted to Sharon's Doe Network page announcing the identification after a long 62 years. So, let's go back and talk about what happened to Sharon. So, on July 21st of 1960, just before 3 p.m., Sharon was playing in the yard of her grandmother's home in Alamogordo, New Mexico, with two other children. One of them was her cousin, age 5, and the other was an individual visiting the family, age 11, when a dark green 1951 to 1952 Plymouth or Dodge sedan pulled up to the home. One of the children did mention that when the car pulled up, there were two other children inside the vehicle already. One of those kids was described as a freckled-faced boy, but no further identifying features were noted. They also note that when this green car pulled up, it was driven by a pale white man. He had a mustache and brown hair. The woman who had been in the passenger seat beckoned Sharon over, stating, "If you come with us, we'll buy you new clothes and candy." Sharon, notably a feisty young girl by her surviving family members, stated that she did not want to go. That's when the woman got out of the vehicle, grabbed Sharon by the elbow, and pulled her inside the vehicle, and the couple sped away. Immediately, the children who'd witnessed the abduction went to get help, and the authorities were notified. Officers in Alamogordo set up roadblocks across the southern part of New Mexico, but unfortunately, Sharon was not located. In the days before the abduction, about 4 to 5 days before to be specific, a woman had started showing up around town, and she had started to take interest with Sharon and her mother, Lupe Gallegos. On one of these days, the woman was seen at a church, and after that church day, she had gone around asking people about Lupe and Sharon. This woman showed up again at their neighbor's house, asking once again about Lupe and Sharon, and stating that she wanted to give Miss Gallegos a job. This neighbor pointed out the house that they had been residing in, and the woman left. In addition to how she'd also asked if the Gallegos family had a little girl or if she had a lot of children. She also asked about the layout of the home and whether it was a single home or divided into a multi-styled apartment living. This neighbor made mention that the woman appeared to be in her 30s and was larger in size with dirty blonde hair. Lupe said that she believed this woman had been trying to make previous attempts to approach Sharon, who'd often gone to the store just around the corner by herself, but in the days leading up to her abduction, she was afraid to go anywhere by herself. Additionally, the 11-year-old who was with Sharon at the time of her disappearance stated that Sharon was afraid when she saw the green car and asked to be picked up and carried as the vehicle passed by. It was asked by the True Crime Arizona podcast if there was any other DNA that may have been found on Sharon's body that was not her own, to which Lieutenant Boltz mentions how law enforcement in 1960 wasn't fully aware of the proper storage processes of evidence, and let alone that DNA was even going to be a thing. So the evidence was stored in a vault at the courthouse where the sheriff's office used to be. The problem with this vault is that it did not have proper circulation. It was dark, and unfortunately, that is a wonderful breeding ground for mold. When the evidence was going to be re-examined in 1977, everything was covered in mold, which led to a painful decision to discard the contaminated evidence. So Lupe unfortunately did pass away in 2011 at the age of 87, but another family member was able to be a part of the press conference when the announcement was made. Ray Chavez Gallegos, the nephew of Sharon, gave a very heartfelt thank you to everyone involved in this case who had helped it get to where it is today, stating, "Thank you for what you've done for us. Thank you for keeping my aunt safe and never forgetting her." The family does intend to give Sharon a proper headstone with her name and date of birth on it. However, it's been undecided if they will be moving her remains back to New Mexico or leaving her to rest in the community that embraced her in her death. Now, Dr. Kristen Middleman states in regards to DNA today is that right now it's okay to state that we've got a DNA dead end and we can't solve the case, and it shouldn't be. There are new tools in the toolbox, and we should demand to use them until we can get answers and solve those cases. Being able to change someone's life and give them closure is so meaningful, and getting justice for someone is amazing. But being able to do that for everyone, that will change the world. Now, while this case has come leaps and bounds today and in the last 2 years, Sharon's homicide is still unsolved, and unfortunately, authorities are still looking for answers. That is currently the story of Sharon Lee Gallegos. And I do have a number.
That's interesting.
I'll give that to us at the end. Is there any thoughts that you would like to share first, Sarah?
Well, it's incredibly bizarre. I just wanted to sit and listen because I wasn't quite sure where this story was going or how much information was going to be said about the case. But that's weird. She had this weird woman and man duo just kind of hanging around for a little bit, and they're like, "Oh, come in our car, we have candy, child." Well, yeah, and I don't know. It's very interesting. You almost wonder, it's like, well, maybe because she had an attitude, they felt even more determined to, like, abduct her or something like that. I mean, at least they know what happened, but...
I don't know. It's one of those ones because there were already 2 other children in the vehicle, too. And by the way, the freckle-faced boy, they're looking to identify him as well as the other individual that may have been in the car. We're not sure if they are still alive or not.
Yeah.
Now, I think James and I did discuss this on, I want to say it was a Sophie Reader episode, is that when kids do get abducted, the likelihood that they are coming back is very, very, very low. Especially like if they're not reported right away or they're seen as a runaway. And during this time, like, I don't even think Amber Alerts are a thing yet. So
no.
Like, you don't have a way of getting information out to people that, hey, green car, took a little girl, there's 2 other kids in the back seat, look for this. So there's not that same network of getting the word out to people that this is happening and we need your help. But yeah, no, my main concern is that Sharon was feisty. Maybe she was putting up a little bit too much of a fight with them, or just being questioning, and they weren't liking that, and unfortunately they decided to kill her.
Yeah. But also the state in which they found her body is super weird.
Yeah.
So she, as far as they know, she wasn't beaten, she wasn't physically injured, she wasn't stabbed. She was just burned.
She was burned, which it's like, okay,
That's
somebody's
crazy.
trying to cover up evidence. And, like, as far as you know, there's no stabbings, there's no injury that way. But, I mean, there could be. It's just not published yet. Because that's something that would probably be used to indicate if somebody was giving a false or a true confession.
Interesting. I mean, at this point, I don't think that they're going to be able to hunt down this man and woman. There's a good chance that they've already passed, I think, at this point.
At this point, there's a chance that they pass. There is still a chance that they are around, but ultimately, like,
they're not lucid in a nursing home. They're like whispering to their nurse, "I killed a little girl," and you're like, "Oh no,
oh no!" But like that shit does
confessions.
happen where people do deathbed confessions, and it's like, what the hell? But
yeah, oh yeah.
Anyway. Let's go ahead and give you guys some information of who to call if you have any information. So if you have any information regarding the abduction and murder of Sharon Lee Gallegos, you are asked to contact the Yavapai County Sheriff's Office at 928-771-3600. 928-771-3260. That number again is 928-771-3260. Or you can contact them online at web.sheriff@yavapaiaz.gov. Thank you again for listening to Spattered. Please make sure to follow the show on Facebook and Instagram at Spattered Podcast and on X at Spattered Pod. If you're enjoying the show, make sure to follow and leave a 5-star rating on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or wherever you get your podcasts from. If you're watching on YouTube, like this video, subscribe, and ring the notification bell to be notified when the show goes live or drops a video. As always, if you have a case request, any questions, or are interested in sponsoring the show, please email me at spatteredpodcast@gmail.com. Spattered is a true crime podcast hosted by Caitlin Gardner and Sarah Ray. The research and edits for this episode were done by Caitlin Gardner. All the music for the show was done by Lucio Cardenas. We'll see you next time. Stay safe out there. And remember, the truth is always in the blood.